Brian. I'm an alcoholic, heroin junkie, pill addict, you name it, I am it. Um, my sobriety date is May 20th of 2016, and that is only by the grace of God. My first higher power is D.O.S in the Grateful Life Center, and an amazing fellowship that I am here today sober. I'm involved in service work. I have a sponsor. I have a home group. My sponsor has a sponsor, and I have sponsees. I do what I'm told today. I get voluntold a lot by my sponsor, and he saved my life on more than one occasion. He tends to keep me out of myself. I'm supposed to tell you in a general way what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And, well, at the beginning, I can tell you I had an amazing upbringing. I have two of the most incredible parents, two of the most supportive parents that I've ever met. I mean, I don't deserve them. I do not deserve them. None one in my family is like me. They're not alcoholic. But I do believe in the disease concept. I do believe that from birth that I was an alcoholic. I've seen it throughout my behaviors, throughout my entire life. It could have been anything from skateboarding to girls to money. If I could find a way to misuse it, I was going to find a way to do it. First, I guess, those qualifiers is me as an alcoholic. My first introduction to any type of mind-altering substance was when I was about 13 years old. I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I was given a prescription for dextroamphetamine, also known as Dextrin. And it was the first time I had ever felt euphoria. It was the first time that I ever felt like I always wanted to feel. I'm that textbook case of an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. But I still have to do anything and everything to try and get you to like me because I don't like who I am on the inside. I'm not comfortable with me. That first time taking it, I remember being in my freshman physics class, and I looked at the person next to me, and I even said out loud, I'm the smartest person in this room. And ever since I had that first feeling, I knew I wanted more of it. I didn't know what it was, how it was going to come about, but I wanted more of it. I wanted anything that was going to make me feel that way. I can't tell you when my first drink or anything was, but I can tell you that from the beginning, from that first time that I ever really sat down to drink, it all went all the way. My first real drunk was a pint of vodka out of a 20-ounce bottle and a 20 ounce of Mountain Dew. And that night I ended up drinking in a park, pissing and puking on myself. That's where I go. That's what I do from the rip. I don't do half measures on anything. So if I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there all the way. My alcoholism has progressed throughout my life. It started out with the psychedelics and with marijuana, and kind of a lot of our stories. A lot of our stories are going to be similar. I'm nothing special. I got to watch a lot of my friends here in Northern Kentucky. We had the first OxyContin and a lot of opiates come around right when I got out of high school. It was about 2006. I got to watch a lot of my close friends, a lot of my people that I would have called family at that time. They were the first people that I got to see what alcoholism can do to somebody. That was my first real glimpse of it. And it was people that I held really dear to my heart. So it kind of pushed me in a way in an aspect, but I just learned that it wasn't my time yet. God had other plans for me. To this day, I see that as God putting that in my path so that later on I could see what they did and then follow them. Those were my first hope shots. All those people now have 6, 7, 8 years of sobriety. Those were the first people that I ran to when I did seek help. Even when I wasn't ready and I wanted help, but I wasn't really ready to dive into anything. I wanted a quick, easy solution. And I mean, I thank God for them because they didn't push anything on me. They didn't tell me, oh, Brian, you got to do this and you got to do that. They knew that there was nothing that they were going to say that was going to make me change my mind. They knew when I was ready, I would be ready and I would reach out. I fell in love many a times in my life. I like to think that I am a hopeless romantic, but I'm really just a full-fledged alcoholic in every sense. I mean, you look at me wrong or you look at me the right way, you bat your eyes at me, and we're in love. That's just who I am. And I've seen that throughout my relationships. Throughout my relationships, my alcoholism has come a lot about in with females. I was actually thinking about it earlier today, and a lot of mine was I always wanted somebody to need me. Because if you need me, you won't leave me. And that's what that was my fears. I'm terrified of being alone. I'm terrified of not of being alone with myself. I need validation, so I seek it. I found my way throughout the restaurant industries, where that was my first home and my first love. If you've ever been in the restaurant industry, especially here in the States, you know that stuff. It runs on pills and on cocaine, and that's what I did. It started out as just a little bit here and a little bit there, and I had all these yets that I would never do because I never wanted to be like those people who needed it, those addicts and those alcoholics. I always thought I had that better than complex. But those were all yets for me. Those were all things that I had yet to do, but I would surely do them. It started off slow. It started off really slow, and I didn't see that it was a problem for the longest time. I was in active pill addiction, I can see now, for roughly about 6 years. From about the time I was 21 until about 27, 28 is when everything really started spiraling out of control. I had a girlfriend, go figure, and we used together. And to this day, like I try not to beat myself up about it because I have gone back and I've made that amends, and I see where she is now and she sees who I am now. And this is a girl who had every right to say, Brian, fuck off, don't ever talk to me again. And how my amends went. And that's how it was going to go in my mind was, Brian, don't ever fucking talk to me again, go die or something. She said, Brian, I see who you are today, and I know the person that you are. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm happy for you. And that was a God moment for me. I don't deserve that. I do not deserve the life that I have today. But thanks to God, I'm happy for that. I'm happy I don't get to pick what I deserve today. What I deserve is to be 6 feet under, or to be in county jail or prison for the rest of my life. My pill addiction slowly escalated, and about the age of 26, 27, I was up to doing a lot of Percocet 30s. I was doing about 5, 6 a day, and I mean, my job, I was a residential carpet cleaner, and it allowed me to come into your house. You would invite me into your house. You give me 3 minutes alone in your house. I'm going to get in your pill cabinet, and that's how I stayed well. I would take whatever I could to get me well and sell off the rest. Meanwhile, you're still giving me a $20 tip because I'll still put on this fake ass smile, this persona of that I've got everything together and that I'm all right, just to impress you, because I know if you say that I'm a good person, I'll believe it. That's where I seek my validation at. I need everyone else to tell me I'm doing right, I'm doing good, I'm doing what I need to do in order for me to even have a glimpse of some source of happiness. It was when it all spiraled was April 26th, 2014, as a date that I will never forget in my entire life, because it was a day that I crossed another one of those yets every time. And I did it without skipping a beat. I always had friends who say, like, when they relapse, like, all the AA stuff and everything, like, is not even a thought in their mind. And that's how it was with all my yets. I went up to go get some Percocets, and I ended up getting ripped off. And the guy that I was with saw that I was going into physical withdrawal. I was maybe 4 or 5 hours from my last use. And he said, well, Brian, I know we just got this, but I can try and get you well, and I have this. So he handed me a 40 of dope. And didn't even second question. There was not a thought in my mind. Did it, and I was in love. I can honestly say, and to this day, I will still say, I love heroin. But that's how I know I'm a full-fledged alcoholic, is because I love it so much. I love it more than my job. I love it more than my family. I love it more than my nieces and nephews, my friends, my money. I love it more than my car. I love it more than anything. I'm able to play that tape out today thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous and see exactly where it leads me. And I know I don't want to go back there. I know all that's left for me. I've been to the jails. I've been to the rehabs. I know that my next one out is death. So that's how serious this is to me. It is, I do this or I die. It has to be that serious. But first time I did that dope, I remember driving back over a bridge, back from Cincinnati, Ohio, into northern Kentucky, sobbing because once again I'd crossed that line. But at the same time, I'm crying on the inside. My alcoholism is like, we found it. We found love again. And so I was off and running. My runs always seem to get shorter and shorter. That one lasted about 6 months. And January 31st, 2015 is the day that I robbed the dope boy. I ran out of money. I ran out of things to sell. I wasn't really ready to be done. I didn't identify as an alcoholic, identified as an opiate addict. And so I reached out to my father. My father has been dealing with us. He's been a counselor for treatment centers, for chemical dependency clinics for as long as I've been alive. So he was the first person I reached out to. So him and my little brother helped me detox on the couch for 14 days. I didn't sleep for 17, but I was on lockdown from them. And I thank them for that to this day. I might not have been ready, but it was my first chance to think clear. I checked myself into an IOP program, and I mean, the whole time I was there, I'd said that I was going to get back to basics. I was just going to get back to smoking weed and drinking. And that's when I had a man in the IOP room who would tell me, he would throw little AA things at me. And like, I look back on it now and I'm like, God damn, he was so fucking right. I used to just look at him like he was crazy. I used to say, Brian, it's progressive. And by God, it is. It took me 6 months to go from being able to share a pint with my ex-girlfriend to me drinking alone in my room, drinking 2/5 a day around the clock, waking up at 3 a.m. just to take another 3 shots so I could fall back asleep and stop the tremors. And that's how I ran. That's what I did. It didn't matter where I was, what I was doing. I had a bottle on me. And about 2 weeks after I started drinking again, I started stealing pills again. I got back into heroin a couple months later, and, well, that lasted me all until about February 2016 when I caught my first charge. I do not know how I stayed that long without a charge. I don't really question it anymore. I try not to think about it too much. God had plans for me. I got arrested. I was sent to jail. I was OR'd out that night, and I went to I had a court date about a month later. They were going to keep me on the streets. But when I was in that jail, I remember that they made me sign a paper. And like, I was so scared, so delusional that I just signed it. Come to find out later that was my agreement to try inpatient treatment. So about a month later, I go to my final sentencing, and I'm drinking, I'm smoking, and I talked to a buddy about the probation officer and asked, like, hey, man, what happens if I drop 30? And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. They'll let you go. So I went in there, saw my PO, obviously right into handcuffs. Got out, and about a month later, I was sent to the place that saved my life, the Grateful Life Center in Erlanger, Kentucky. That was my first introduction to the steps. Through there, it progressed quickly. I was one of those guys that I needed it pounded into my head. I had a man look me straight in the face, big country guy from Ashland, Kentucky, look me square in the eye and say, Brian, fuck your feelings. And that's what I needed. I needed somebody to not let me give an excuse, because I'm going to manipulate you. I'm going to look for sympathy, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. My first couple months in there, I was just kind of hanging out, didn't know whether or not I wanted to be sober, could be sober. I'm thinking long term, how am I going to stay sober for the rest of my life? But I saw some of the guys that I was in there with, they were starting to work the steps. They had sponsors. They were going out to meetings and like finding their own home groups and stuff. And I saw the happiness. I saw a light in their eyes, and I wanted that. For the first time in my life, that was, when I look back on it, that was my step two. I already knew that I had an alcohol problem. I already knew that I had a pill problem. I knew I couldn't go on, and I didn't know what to do. These people knew what to do. So I found a sponsor. We started working the steps. And some people, when you get to that fourth step, they talk about feeling terrible about it later. And for me, that wasn't the case. When I got to my fourth step, I was relieved. I got so much relief getting it down on paper, making it real, and then telling it to my sponsor when I dropped my fifth. It was all of those secrets finally came pouring out. In the big book, in the steps, it says between you, God, and another human being. So I would tell them my sickness in the middle of a meeting. If I had something that was eating my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and all of my snacks, I was telling on it, because I knew the moment that it came out and it became real, I would get a little bit of relief from it. I got relief from working these steps, so I fucking dove headfirst in. I switched around sponsors a little bit, trying to find that real connection with somebody. I've been through 1 through 6 or 1 through 7, probably about 5-6 times. But it wasn't until I found my current sponsor right now that I truly found. I saw the spirituality that he had, and that's what I wanted. I saw the faith that he had in God, the faith that he had in his higher power, and I choose to call my God God simply because the fact that I do not have a better word for it. I'm not talking no religious shit. I'm talking on a spiritual level. I was told when I first came in, because I was a militant atheist, Brian, religion's for people who don't want to go to hell. Spirituality is for people who have lived hell, and that's something that's stuck with me. I went off and running. I got that relief from that dropping that fourth and that fifth, and I wanted more. Every time that I get a little bit inside myself, I see how the service works in Alcoholics Anonymous. Sorry, I got a little bit little scrambled. When it came to time to start doing my amends, it was the people that loved me unconditionally that I found to be the hardest. The people that I knew would say, Brian, I love you. You could never do anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. Those were the ones that were the hardest for me to make. The people that I thought would be all, Brian, fuck you. You're a waste or all that. It's nothing that I have not heard before from them, or nothing that I have not said to myself. So I was prepared for that. And in one of my amends, I balked, and it lit a fire under my ass. It was an amends to my grandfather, and because I balked, my amends went from making a living amends to making a graveside amends, and it ate me up. Still does a little bit, because I know he would tell me all the time how proud of me he was, but I was still scared. I was still running on fear, and I'll never let that happen again. I will never let fear run my life like it has, because every time that fear has run my life, it's just me lacking faith in God. And when I finally walk through that fear, when I finally get uncomfortable, the greatest things in my life have happened. I've been miserable in sobriety. I've stopped doing what I've needed to do, and I've gotten miserable. I've made a girl my higher power, and it almost killed me. I almost drank over it. I've had God moments where if it wasn't for a specific person, or if it wasn't for somebody calling me when that phone was too heavy for me to pick up, I would not be sitting here today sober. I've tried to kill myself in sobriety. But I woke up. That morning that I woke up after trying to kill myself, I had a bunch of sleeping pills. I didn't expect up. I didn't with everything anymore. I woke up that next morning, and I've never felt God more in my life. I've never felt more alive. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous has given me a life that I never could have imagined, that I never thought possible for myself. It is something that I cherish deeply, and I will continue to do to the best of my ability. And luckily, I've got friends, family, and will not let me sit in my own shit. They are quick to say, Brian, you're fucking up. Brian, fuck your feelings. And I will be forever grateful to them. I love them so fucking much. Without them, I am nothing. Without my God, I am nothing. I thank you all for letting me share, and thank you for inviting me to be here. Thank you.